Folks, it's a very different type of day in the wrestling space. It's a different day for the Burt. It's a different day for the late night Grin. All those things, and it goes without saying. No fancy overlay, no bumper intro that many things shooters spent many time making, and they'll be great for many other days, not today. This has been interesting, is the word I'm going to lead with, Jaychele. And we're going to talk about every single piece of it. But firstly, how are you this morning? It's early there at 10 a.m. So how are you?
Yes, 10 a.m. I'm good. I'm not at school. 1 week from today, I do my senior speech, and that is my last assignment, and then I am graduating. So that's very insane, but I'm here.
A lot going on. A lot going on. I do not envy you in that regard. So here's the deal, folks. This is still titled The Burt because this is what we have scheduled in and all that good stuff. But it increasingly became apparent to me. I was looking at this from a kind of singular what the story itself is, which I do think is worth stressing, is like a real story. Yeah. This is not just some kind of loose speculation about someone's contract in 2 years. They actually walked out and something happened and a statement was put out, which is one of the crazier things I've experienced in my time in wrestling media. So there's a real story to talk about. But what I kind of became aware of talking to Jaychele and just looking at the timeline was that there were certain elements to the discourse that had taken a very different turn. So this is a different type of show today. We're just going to talk out. I don't know how long we're going to be here. I don't know what this looks like in terms of format. Chat. I don't know how much you're going to be kind of in a Q&A format here. There's many times to do that. This isn't
y'all can ask questions if you want to. Just
yes.
It might be a venomous response, so pick wisely.
It depends on the question, right? If you have a specific thing, if you want to send a tip, whatever, streamlabs.com/layoutgrin. Don't worry if not. You're already paying to watch this live, so don't sweat. We're going to post this on YouTube after because it feels like, we're lucky to have Jaychele on our platform, and I'm going to sharpen me and let her talk, but it feels like it's something that needs to be out there. So, Jaychele, do you think we should go through this kind of step by step in how it happened, or would you like to make kind of a leading statement?
No, I'll bury my statements within the video in case people find it and think that I'm like a racist fuck. So we'll just wait a little bit.
In many ways, that felt like the perfect opening statement. Okay, that's good. Now, this is quite the ordeal. Last night, before Raw went on the air, or was it as they went on the air, they announced the match? When did the match actually get announced?
Well, I feel like it was announced a little bit before, maybe like 30 minutes before. And it was in Sean's rundown, so people were going crazy over it then too.
Okay, so it was a strange match to begin with. It was two tag teams, and Asuka and Becky are in the midst of a feud, basically, to crown the number one contender. So this first start there, what was your immediate reaction to the match? Now, I know you actually were going to watch the match, and I think we all agree it would have been good, but
yeah,
it was weird from the jump, wasn't it?
Yes, that, and Bianca wasn't on the show at all. Wasn't in the rundown, wasn't on the show. Thought that was weird also, because if you have somebody who's like the champion, put them at ringside, do the normal thing that they do, right? I was like, okay, where's Bianca? That's odd. One. And two, seeing Sasha and Naomi in this match, I was like, well, why are they here? They're trying to work on their tag division stuff. That's what I thought. That's what it seemed like. Obviously the tag division has its flaws and everything, and we'll talk about it later. Obviously, it's a very big part of the story. But I thought it was a random selection. I don't know. It felt out of place. I mean, even seeing Nikki and Dewdrop, they barely just got their story stuff underway again. And I don't know. It felt like a weird placement. If you were going to do the match, I thought it was going to be a three-way, like a triple threat, like we talked about before. I thought it was going to be a triple threat, and that's how it was going to go. And interesting.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Now, the reason I kind of want to dive into elements of this are, do we know yet, and Jaychele, I think you're much more locked into what's actually been reported, do we know yet when it is believed they left the building? Before we even get,
before the start of the show.
Okay, so
they put the graphic up while the show was happening.
Thank you. I'm wondering if I'm missing something here, because it appears to me, and folks, I know nothing. This is not me reporting. This is me speculating. It feels to me like this graphic may have been shown exclusively so they could be showy with the fact that they walked out. Do you not think that seems present here too?
Definitely. I feel like a lot of this is focused on painting the talent in a bad light, especially when it's two black women. Look at the optics, obviously. But when we look at the star caliber of Sasha and Naomi, when they're two of your best selling talent, and I literally wrote a whole paper about this, about how they had to overcome everything. WWE doesn't really give them much in terms of creative, in terms of pushes. When Sasha was in The Mandalorian, they barely talked about it.
Yeah.
Naomi, when's the last time she held a title? When's the last time she was in a very important program besides the Charlotte feud, because that barely got off the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was
Yeah.
in a long story with Sonya, and it went nowhere. Like, there's always these things happening with Sasha and Naomi, and even Bianca, she had the Becky thing. There's always these issues within Black women in the division, and in spite of what the WWE does, they're continuously over. They're
Mm-hmm.
always. I honestly could argue Sasha, Bianca, and Naomi put together are the three most over women in the whole division. Only person you could
Yes.
argue that with for me is maybe Bianca, Becky, and Asuka. But beyond that, I honestly feel like they're the most over women, and the WWE doesn't give them much to become that over. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at the end of this, we'll maybe have a talk about what both women kind of have represented in a bigger sense and what they could be beyond this particular promotion. Because I've seen a lot of talk in one direction, but I think you and I probably see bigger things for both of these women than them just like going to another wrestling promotion, right? I think
yes, yes, yes.
especially in Sasha's case, because it's just, and that's not to slight
Do you
Naomi,
remember
who's
all
great.
those days when we just were like, "Oh, Sasha's never going to AEW"? That would never happen.
Well, I want to talk about it because I think that's a real thing in this story. I
Yeah.
really believe that we are currently seeing the benefits of having two real promotions again, and a talent that really has their head screwed on and understands who they are and what they stand for and what their audience
Mhm.
represents. Like they know, well, I got real leverage now.
Did
It's
you
different.
hear that clip of Sasha talking to Steve Austin
Yes,
where she? Okay, good, good, good.
it
I
was
eat vegetables.
fabulous.
I eat
Yeah,
steak and
because
vegetables.
well, this is what. And look, we're going all over the place here because this is. I said this weeks ago, Jaychele. I think you were on the show. There is this weird trend in which people want their favorite wrestlers to be like good team players and soldiers, and it's like if your favorite wrestler is a star the caliber of a Sasha Banks or a Naomi, and you want her to just be like accepting of shit because that's what you're supposed to do, what is
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you're like, what you want from your favorite wrestler. It's bizarre. Um, so anyway, let's get back to this timeline.
Yes. Yes.
So the match is announced, and then how long went the show? An hour into the show, less when they
Yeah,
did
about
this.
an hour or so, give or take. Yeah.
So initially, the response to this was just this is like one of the more insane plans change moments ever,
Yeah,
right?
where creative rips up everything and yada yada yada. Yeah.
And that's a very understandable response because, frankly, I mean, let's be honest about it, that wouldn't be out of character for them anyway, right? They do that stuff kind of regularly.
Hmm.
So that wasn't surprising. What was your initial reaction though to that kind of weird, detour they took there?
I was like, oh, well, maybe they're just going back on this and they're gonna book another like singles match. I mean, a tag match or something for the tag teams or something. But then they said that like left. I was like, oh, well that's work. It is
Hmm.
what it is. And then Sean starts tweeting that there's more to the story, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me strap myself in because this is not a work. And I had to like prepare for all the incoming bad takes, and professionalism, yada 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 yada. And shut up, dude. If you hated your job, you'd leave too. If you were there and they were like making you do a bunch of things that you didn't like, and they were valuing other workers over you, and like you'd still be unhappy. Put yourself in
Hmm.
those shoes, dude.
Well, that brings up an element of this that I think people always forget, and frankly, I think people are forgetting it with a situation like an MJF. I think people forget it with every situation, which is that I can list to you the circumstances of someone's unhappiness or their contract or whatever. But unless you and I are working there, it's impossible for us to see it, right? Like when it came out that
Yeah.
Naomi was supposed to win this match, there was this talk of like, well, hold on, what are they mad about? And it's like, well, I'm not working there, They've been mad for the last 2 months. Maybe it's miserable for them. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Dave
It's
said it was
important,
like a buildup of things.
right?
And I mean, I could obviously see that. I mean, Sasha won at Mania for the first time this year.
Right.
And like literally she's been on what 5, 6 manias. I think this was maybe her fifth or sixth. She's a
Mm-hmm.
huge star and she hasn't won until this year, dude.
Yeah,
That's fucking insane.
it is, and I'm amazed by how people talk on these situations based on what they see, as though we don't all have real life experience every single day with our
Yeah.
lives.
And
It's like,
I wonder how these people would feel if you went on Twitter and you saw people telling you she's not good enough to be acting the way she is. She's not a big enough star to act like that. Even MJF.
mm.
Like, dude, I don't understand how people get so tough on the internet. One, Sasha could beat your ass, dude. I don't know who you think you are. Two, literally this woman has busted her ass and she is the best wrestler in the world. I
but
just don't understand how y'all are not connecting the dots here. She should be treated as such.
I wonder, like, and this is what makes this so interesting, is she seemed committed to the idea that the tag titles were going to be a focus, which I think we both believe is a big part in this issue, right? The idea that the tag titles are going to be kind of
Mhm.
thrown aside again. And that part of this makes it even more kind of weird because there's very few things you can do that would be more selfless than lift up your friend and tag team partner, try to rebuild a whole division or subdivision that's in,
Dude,
tatters. Like, that makes it even weirder, doesn't it?
the like ever since I want to say like the pandemic, Sasha's been on this weird territory of she's a star but she's not, and she's in the middle. So after the WrestleMania happened, obviously that was amazing. SummerSlam didn't work out and they never really bounced back from that. She didn't win the Royal Rumble like it was teased. It
Mm-hmm.
really seemed like Sasha was going to win the Royal Rumble. She came in at number 1. It seemed like she was going to go do the Iron Woman thing, whole thing. No, Ronda comes back. They drop everything for her. Every time there's a white woman in the picture, they will drop Sasha, Bianca, and Naomi. They do not care. Becky came back, drop Bianca. Ronda came back, drop Sasha. It's like it's just they don't value the amount of star power and talent and like in ring, outside the ring, on mic, whatever that these black women have. If for people to say that it's not a race issue, dude, I don't understand how you're seeing all of these things when you're not connecting the dots, saying that they're unprofessional regardless of the race. The way people are talking about them, that is not just them being upset because they're unprofessional.
I agree. Totally. I think there is an element. I think, you know me well enough to know where I'm going with this, in that I think there's definitely an element on WWE's front creatively. They are actually that incompetent. I think we would both agree that there is a regular racial undertone to the discourse that follows in
Mm-hmm.
defense of that incompetence. Does that make sense? Now,
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that a group of old white dudes don't see the marketability of some of these women, and I think that's obvious. That's been clear.
Yeah.
I even remember Mick Foley saying that.
Even
You
the
know?
Street Profits, even if we're not going to talk about
Yeah,
women,
there you go. There you go.
the Street Profits are literally in like the middle of the tag division, and
Mhm.
literally you could put them at Rolling Loud and people would understand their characters.
Mhm.
Like if you have these people, not to get too much into the black dollar and everything like that, but black people spend more money than white people do. So if we look at the market of black people who want to support other black people, and especially in wrestling, dude, target that market. You'll make so much
Mhm.
more money. I just don't understand how they don't connect these dots here.
It's strange. You and I have often talked about comparing and contrasting the treatment of Charlotte to Sasha has always been a real
Even Charlotte,
head
Becky,
scratcher.
Bailey, Sasha, 2 races, well,
Mhm.
3 races, I guess,
Yeah.
in the separation of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. So in Becky's promo, she said that they left the building, which I think most people just took as a really weak explanation for changing plans. Which
Mhm.
again, I want to stress, if that was your fault, that you're not wrong, because they do stuff like that pretty regularly, honestly. So this is all taking place, and then I think PW Insider first
Yes.
was like they've actually left the building, and we're going to get into some of the aforementioned kind of undertones here shortly, because it's important, especially I want you have a chance to talk about that. I will say though, can we just pause the timeline at this very moment and discuss the immediate response to the story that they had walked out? It's not even before the statement, because I tweeted about this when it happened, and I'm amazed at how polarizing this was immediately. In your mind, is that as much racial undertones, or is it honestly equally this really weird trend that you and I are aware of people being pro brand, pro company, pro promoter rather than talent? What do you think? Is it both?
Initially, at the beginning, I didn't see anything that had to do necessarily with racial undertones, but
Right.
I think it didn't have enough time to get there yet. Originally, because when it first came out, it was everybody's gut reactions. We had no more information. So they were just like, that's unprofessional, yada, yada, yada. You shouldn't do that, everything, all that, whatever. Once the story came out more, I feel like then people were like, okay, well, I don't have anything else to say to defend WWE, so let me get racist. And that's just where it went.
I'm amazed, and I touched this a minute ago, and look, folks, I think if you've watched the shows, you know where I stand on this kind of thing. But my immediate reaction was, and I think I want to speak for people, I think it should be everyone's reaction, which was good for them. I mean, I can't walk a day in their shoes, but I think anyone that's watched professional wrestling for any stretch of time can pretty easily come up with a good enough reason why someone would say, you know what, fuck this, I'm out, right?
Literally, yeah.
And Sasha has shown a willingness to do that previously, and I respected it then, and I respect it now. So, is this? I'll just ask Joe because this something interests me. Does it make the conversations around wrestling like less fun to you to see how much people are like increasingly for their brand rather than the actual human beings out there bumping and and being the wrestlers themselves? Because it bums me out, I have to say.
I literally have had conversations this past month about how much I hate wrestling.
Yes, you have. Yes, you
I
have.
literally have thought about just deleting Twitter. I obviously can't do that because that's how I got to promote my work and all that stuff. But like, these people are fucking miserable, dude. And they just sit here and defend a company who doesn't give two shits about them. I'm sorry. White men, if you're sitting there sucking Vince McMahon's dick, he's not going to pay you. He's not.
No.
You should not channel all of the aggression that you have from your daily life and your lack of self-love because your heart is filled with hatred towards these black women. That is no excuse for behavior like that. Especially not to get into politics, but literally we had a white man walk into a supermarket and kill 10 black people. I don't understand how these people are not learning from the consequences of their actions. You perpetuate behavior like this, that whatever his name was, Peyton or whatever, he said he spent 2 years on 4chan and Discord and everything like that, learning how to become a white supremacist. It is because of vitriol that these people are speaking about these black women that it's being passed down to these young people who are becoming marksmen for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're becoming hitmen. I just don't. What these people are saying has consequences beyond what they see. They might just think, oh, they're just giving their opinion or whatever. The way that your opinion affects these black women, you will never know. Do you know Sasha and Naomi personally? No. You don't have a right to pass judgment on what they're going through, who they are, what they've done in their life, how talented they are, what they can do in the ring, out the ring, their families, anything like that. It's just so disrespectful. Sorry.
No, you're right. And let's get to the, we're talking about this debate of like reaction as though there's some kind of heinous crime committed by these. They walked down a wrestling show. And by the way, and we're going to get the statement in a second, that element of the statement of like, we couldn't do our main event as advertised is like one of the most absurd, phony things that company has ever put. They don't do their main event as advertised almost every week. Is that the worst thing they did here? Is that what we're actually getting mad about and defending the company for because they ruined our main event? Like, that's the big thing to me. I mean, I co-sign everything you said, but like, if there was something more, tangible they did wrong beyond just walk out on a pro wrestling show.
Especially the people who are harping on the fact that it's live TV versus what Tony Storm did or Jeff Hardy did walking out at a WWE live show. Did they show their faces on the screen? Were they on your TV yet? No?
Mm-hmm.
No? So they just went along about their day.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that they probably walked out before WWE even announced that match.
That's the part I want to know more about. Because if that is the case, it makes it even more hollow and kind of transparent, right? But yeah, that part I'm intrigued to find out more because I did see some talk in the chat that maybe they left before. I don't actually know, guys. I don't know any of this stuff. I just, I'm just kind of trying to figure this out the way you are. And
And
Jaychele, I think
hot.
it's the same.
Hot.
It's a
I'm
lot.
sweaty, dude.
It's a lot.
The racists make me sweat.
so this is all going on, this conversation. And then, now this is the part that genuinely, and I will remember it for some time, in fear of understating story and the important part. I do have to say that this is kind of legendary on the talent's perspective. They got this statement put out. This is nuts. How many times did you check if this statement was real before you actually responded to it? Like, because I was like,
I saw
wait,
it from a bunch of different sources.
it was wild. But Sean was the first one I saw. It said, it basically listed what the situation was here. They walked into Johnny Ace's office and they put down the tag titles. They walked out, so on and so forth. And obviously, as I said, they closed with that part about not being able to deliver their main event. There was an element in here that was really interesting about them not being comfortable working with like two of the women in this match, which was a really strange approach. Jaychele, what was your immediate reaction to the statement? Because this was puzzling to say the least.
I was confused about many things. I'm just going to try to break it down in the way that my mind worked. Why is there a statement? 2, you never address things that are in the media anymore. If it's wrestling media, you just let it be, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If you are talking about Sasha and Naomi, what are their championships vacant now? Like you said, they just handed it to John Laurinaitis. Like you didn't. Is that his name? John Laurinaitis?
Yes.
Johnny Ace. Yeah. Then you don't hand us any more information about the titles. Are they just gone? They claim to not be of any value. Would you argue that they are of value? Because then I'd like to see your argument, because I don't think you have any evidence that they are of value. Also, saying that they have issues with women that they've worked with or whatever, that they think that they're uncomfortable with them or whatever, it just is like, what? No. Naomi and Sasha are both beloved backstage. And I just don't understand how we could have connected the dots from there to there. And I don't think that they had any. I think that they might have felt uncomfortable working with the producers of that match, maybe, instead of the wrestlers. But I don't think that they would say that, because that would throw their own workers under the bus. But
uncomfortable is a really interesting word, because it immediately gives you this sense that, they don't trust them. That's the immediate thing I read from that. When I hear a wrestler's uncomfortable working with another, they don't trust them. And I think, is it more likely they didn't want to do this particular match for other reasons? Like, for example, they wanted to save their match with the other team, or they wanted to do something else with, and they used the exact word uncomfortable to kind of add some kind of confusion to that, because it feels like it to me. What do you think? That part's, I don't know. I sense they're up to something with that.
yeah, they're probably covering their ass, or just doing anything that they can to like put the blame onto the talent or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't hear this yet.
Yeah, I saw someone talking about it. I haven't seen the actual source.
Okay. I mean, Sean always does the thing about the producers, so maybe he'll have something to share about that.
It feels to me like the kind of thing you do to both make the talent look worse, right? Like it was, they were mad about having to wrestle with that. And the other thing to me is that, and they do this a lot, they're playing the talent off each other, right? It feels like it to me. Like if you're a Dewdrop or a Nikki or an Asuka or a Becky, let's just say all the names. If you're one of those 4 women and you were kind of in the cold of this deal, you just was watching on, and next thing you knew, you wasn't in the match or something had changed, and you didn't get a chance to talk to them, and then this gets sent to you on the little company app thing they use. It's like, I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. That part was the part that jumped out. The one thing I will say is
next to it, which is why he was doing more digging. Okay,
there you go. The big thing for me is, honestly, this to me captures that this is kind of like this is a big story internally. Now, what I mean by that is talent gets mad, talent says, but them walking out felt like a big deal. Is it just me or did this statement not make it incredibly clear that like there were some people heated about this situation in and out? So, do you think this is kind of indicative that this may have many chapters ahead, this whole drama? Or do you think it's like, because this
Oh, it
statement is
has to.
very, yeah.
It has to. There's no way that this is the end of the story. Did you see that long thread that I sent to the group chat, the late night
Yeah.
group chat of somebody who seemed to have had an inside source? I don't even know where their source came from. I don't know who they are. Whatever. But they basically broke down what seems to be Sasha and Naomi's side of the story, and it seems like people are just ignoring it, which seems to be expected because once their side of the story comes out, not to make comparisons, but when John Moxley or whatever left WWE, he shared his side of the story and people
Right.
listened to him and upraised his voice. And originally I thought that it was just because Big Swole left AEW, the AEW people were harping on what she said and everything like that. But now that Sasha and Naomi both share their story, well, it is by proxy through somebody else, but it's also being ignored. So neglect of both comments and I guess just disregard for their side of the story is a seemingly consistent thread.
You and I talked about with Athena's recent interview with Chris Van Vliet, right? We talked about how there were like really big things in that interview that confirmed stuff people had kind of assumed and said about NXT and different things inside the
And
company.
yes, I tweeted some of it and I got all of the hate. Yes, I did.
Yes, exactly. And there were people that inexplicably picked out a couple quotes they didn't like and focused on those for a day rather than the fact that she said some pretty damning stuff.
Mhm.
Again, I'm intrigued on kind of what the true source of that is. And are people just that protective of their favorite promotion now? It feels like it, right?
I mean, yes, I also want to highlight this quickly. That got picked up in the New York Times. It was in Sports Illustrated. It was in main media. So they definitely knew because Sasha's a star that it would get picked up everywhere, and it's relative to the WWE, and it's something unprecedented, basically. Um, and all of this just seems like it's beyond tribalism at this point. I mean, obviously, tribalism would come into
Hmm.
play, but in regards to the way that we see women in wrestling treated in general, not even if I'm just speaking about Black women, this seems like something consistent. If Roman Reigns walked out of the WWE because he didn't like a match that was happening, people would be like, "Oh, Roman's in the right. As he should. He's the biggest star in the company. Let him do what he wants."
Mm.
Sasha is arguably the biggest female star in the company right now, and you get upset for her walking out because she knows what she's worth.
How much of that do you think is a very strange, deep rooted thing with wrestling fans where they still haven't adjusted to the fact that WWE probably has as many. Honestly, I'm not going to say probably. They have as many like top female stars as they do male stars at this point. I think
If
some
not
fans.
more.
I think so. I think they have more. Do you think some wrestling fans are so rooted in like yesteryear they haven't actually adjusted to that yet? They don't realize that the women actually, if you took the main women off those shows, they're like, awful bear. I think that's a factor. And I'm not saying that
Oh
makes them
shit, this
right.
did happen.
Yes, the Roman Reigns walking out because of
I
COVID protocols.
see, literally. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Actually, I wasn't a fan then. I started watching the night after WrestleMania 36, so good thing I didn't
there you
know.
go. But yeah, do you think that's the thing here? Like, I get this when I sometimes even just read people's takes. It's like I think people don't quite fully grasp that there's been a shift in that company in terms of star power. It feels like the
Yeah,
women are kind of the real stars in a lot of cases now.
I feel like ever since maybe Total Divas era or so, the women have been able to get more over with the crowd and everything like that. But like, even if we look at Alexa Bliss, dude, she's
Mm.
like the top merch seller in the company besides Roman, basically. Like those Lily dolls go crazy. They're
Yes.
major attractions, especially for little girls, because more than ever, the audience is skewing towards like little girls who want to see somebody that looks like them, and that's why representation is so incredibly important. But neither here nor there. But I think the the age shifts in wrestling, I think that people who are watching now were also watching when women were doing bra and panties matches. So they don't
Yeah,
see the difference, and they don't care
I
to learn
agree.
either. So
This actually, because this is a great example, and it captures saying, and I remember this being a thing when Sean got that story. Do you remember the story about Alexa being mad she wasn't on Mania?
hmm
And how the responses were, but she was on Mania like 2 years ago. That would never happen to a male star of her caliber. Never. I don't care if you think she's bad, good, somewhere in the middle. In terms of star power, if a man, if a dude was that over and was off Mania completely and sent home, and they in that story came out through Fightful, there is no way the responses would have been the way they read for her, right?
if you take away the AEW stuff from Cody, and Cody's just a big star in WWE now, and
Yeah,
he was upset that he wasn't on Mania,
right.
people would have been like, "Well, that's right. He
Yeah,
should be on Mania. He's a big star. They pay lots of money for him. All that stuff."
that was a real thing. Like I remember that being a thing on Twitter that day, as people talking about it, and I was with them. Like this shows you how much people's mindsets are outdated in that regard, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like,
well, they were in the title match 3 years ago, you know?
oh, yep, somebody got it in the chat. Randy Orton is a good comparison for
Yeah.
Alexa.
And again, I'm not trying to change what the matter is here because we're talking about Naomi and Sasha, and it's very different. But I do think that shows that there is an element of, through ignorance or through kind of a lack of awareness, you know, some fans just haven't quite figured out that, like, these women are, they should be treated the way that the top men have been treating that company for 20 years. Um, I'll be honest, and if she wanted to do it, that's awesome. I think the Sasha Naomi team's great. I think it's nuts that she was put in a fatal four-way tag match at WrestleMania. And if she went to do that, that's awesome. But I'll be completely real. I think it's kind of crazy that happened to her, considering that she appeared to be the obvious choice for us with Charlotte, and then she ended up in a fatal four-way like tag. I was like, but that's just another story for another day.
They always do bad with Sasha when it comes to Mania. As much as I love her, that build to the Bianca match was horrible. It was
Yeah,
trash. It's always bad.
yeah, that was. You're right.
Nope. Ugh.
So so anything else on this statement? Because I do have to. I mean, again, just to stress how kind of much this escalated and how crazy this got. The line about hours to rehearse, and it's. I mean, this is. They're getting ahead of saying it. Feels like here, Jaychele, doesn't it?
It basically just seems like they're going, holy shit, people are going to say stuff. Let us say our side quickly and get it out now. Even like if you look at the way it reads, it doesn't read like it went through a bunch of people like to be
Yeah.
proofread and everything like that. And like the wording is kind of off. And it seems unprofessional.
Doesn't it feel kind of like petty? It
It's
reads
so
like
petty. And
yeah,
people are saying that, oh, the WWE is always petty. This isn't a thing towards black women. Then why are you calling those black women unprofessional? If
yes.
WWE is already unprofessional, why aren't the talent allowed to be unprofessional?
This is the part that feels like truly singular to this story. This is the part that's nuts, honestly. Right? This is very this is an odd piece of this. It goes without saying. I also would like to explore the those characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. What does that mean? Does their contract say they just have to just do whatever? Have no say in the matter at all?
What does those contracts even look like? If it's
Exactly.
like you have to work a certain amount of days, then can they take another live event and work another day? Like I just don't. How does it correlate? Can't they go to fucking NXT and go do a match for a tag team with a tag team, a women's tag team that actually matters? They wanted to work Casey and Kaden. Do they get
I'm
to?
just
No.
I'm genuinely fascinated by what the wording is in these contracts. They're confident putting in a statement to perform the requirement. Like, what is like what? So it has to be exactly what they asked for. It's nuts. I don't know. It's really weird. And everyone in chat's about the kayfabe thing, and I think that's a real thing. It doesn't shock me in that I don't think they really care about that stuff. To be honest, what I think is interesting is I think this speaks to Sasha star power, not just because she's a big enough name that it was what they had to do it. Do you think they're scared of her own presence in the media and some of the big time interviews that she gets on her own, basically? Now, I'm sure WWE has a tie in that, but she's actually kind of outgrown those elements. Do you think they're scared of a world in which, for once, a WWE talent can go and get their own kind of, media frenzy going, and meanwhile they can't control that narrative, so to speak? So it feels like that's a factor here, honestly.
Yeah. The situation makes it so unique because it's Sasha. It'd be different. I mean, not to be like that, but it'd be different if we were talking about like Dana Brooke and
Yeah.
Tamina walked out. You
Yes.
know what I
Yes.
mean? Their star caliber is on a completely different level. And the fact that it's two people, not even just one,
Yes.
like it makes it a lot more challenging for WWE to get a hold of, especially when you're so beloved in a certain community online, like Sasha and Naomi. Like they have the crew and then the mob or whatever. I know
Mm-hmm.
people don't like the crew and
That's whatever.
whatever.
They love their favorite wrestler. I said this a while back on Fight for. I'm sorry to cut you off, Trisha, but like I'm sure people go too far with it, but like they seem to go for their favorite, and I ultimately respect that more than someone who has a WWF logo in their shit. That's my honest take. I've said that before, but that's just me.
I bet you the crew would follow Sasha wherever she goes.
I
If
hope
she
so.
goes to Stardom, those Stardom views are shooting up, dude.
I actually think it will happen. No, I don't think she's going to do it, but I think if she did, I agree with you. I think that would happen.
Yeah.
I do wonder too if, and I do apologize, folks, because we're focusing a lot. I'm focusing much on Sasha because, and I don't mean that to undercut Naomi. I think we both love Naomi, and she's great. It's just because there have been a long, because she left. When did Sasha walk out the first time? 3 years ago.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just my mind focused in that direction. She had the Mandalorian gig, and as you said, they didn't promote it. And I've always been of the belief she should have been the face of the division. She wasn't, and that's not to say Naomi shouldn't have got more. She should have. We all agree Naomi should have. But I can't help myself but looking that kind of in that direction. And I think part of this and why this could be such a big story, if it escalates, we do not know. This in a day's time it could be settled, right? But there are a lot of great wrestlers in WWE history, but there is something singular about who Sasha Banks is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is if Roman Reigns leaves tomorrow, it's a big deal. But there are faces of the company that you define as eras, right? So you go from, Hogan, Bret, Austin, Rock, Brock, whoever, and you get to Roman and you move on to the next one. That's how it goes. This last 6 years has been the first in WWE history that the women have been true main eventers. And from a quality perspective, Banks she's the gold standard in that regard, isn't she? I mean, she is.
Oh yes.
Beyond doubt, has been the most prolific bell to bell, but has also, with that, combined the star power and the crossover appeal. So I think part of what makes this such a unique story is, and again, not to undercut Naomi, who's singular in her own right and is fabulous, but she's kind of a one-off for them. She isn't just the latest top guy. She's like the, female kind of ace in terms of a work rate sense. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also would like to mention, I just looked up the SmackDown that's supposed to happen this Friday. And Naomi is advertised on the cover of the poster for the arena. It also doesn't say anything. It just says Roman, Drew, the Usos. Obviously, the Usos have the match with RK Bro, which is interesting because Jimmy got to go to work on Friday. And then also Bianca and Rhea Ripley is advertised as well.
Very, very interesting. The immediate response to this will be, one of the big stories in wrestling for some time. I want to stress again that for considering how little we know, maybe this will all blow over, right? It doesn't, as Hester mentioned in the chat, it doesn't change the fact that there was a problem to begin with. But maybe, things, it happens sometimes. Right now is this moment, Jaychele, what's your, I don't, you don't have to do like a prediction, but what do you kind of expect to happen here? Deep down,
Sasha takes some time off.
Yeah.
I think I think it needs to happen. If this is how she's feeling, then I guess they're going to vacate the titles.
Is there a chance? This would be quite the move because it would be against everything that they're kind of fighting for. But is there a chance these belts just go away? Because, I thought that this morning and was like, that seems like something that could happen to me.
I don't think that's that far off. Yeah, I think it could happen.
The Naomi part of this makes it so much because it's not, as you said, it's two people, two beloved characters as well in turn.
And the thing is, Naomi normally, as much as I love her, she just normally follows the rules. She normally just does what she has to do, put over who she has to put over, and she does her job and she leaves. And when she came into WWE and FCW, they told her straighten her hair. You cannot wear your hair puffy. It needs to be straightened. You need to look like a champion. She did that all the way until 2020. Like, she is a known rule follower, and she'll take what's handed to her. And she knows her worth, but she takes what's handed to her. So I don't know. And they also have the NXT women's tag titles that like are on Toxic Attraction. So I don't know what you want to do with that. But I honestly could see them being like, oh, well, they're gone. We got to move up Toxic Attraction. They're the new tag champions.
I just, like, why mean? Like, I'm aware that if they did like a statement and said the belts are gone, it would be like a terrible. But it just wouldn't shock me if they just never referenced them again. Like,
yeah.
I think my read on it is, from a Sasha perspective, that I think she's going to be away for maybe a little bit, and the hope will be for them, anyways, that cooler heads will prevail. Right? We'll work it out down the line. But the Naomi part makes it more complex, and there's two people involved, and obviously Naomi, with the Usos being all over the TV, it's just there's a lot here. There's a lot going on.
I have a new prediction. I feel like there might be a short suspension, and I feel like they'll make it seem like a work, but I think it'll be like for real. Because the way that they put out that statement, it seems extremely like venomous.
Okay, so there's two pieces of that. Firstly, I think it's borderline likely that if Evil Woman comes back, they work this into their shtick on TV.
I think when they come back, they're losing a lot. They're going to get punished.
I think they'll 100% be framed as like, like these out. They walked out. Like I think they'll 100% do that deal if they come back. I do wonder if this is just, and look, this is very. I'm just throwing stuff out. We're speculating, but a suspension feels like it would be, in some ways, indication that like this is not going to get rebuilt. That feels like the company kind of standing firm that the talent was wrong. And I'll be honest, I don't know if Sasha Banks is going to put up with that shit.
Her cousin is fucking Snoop Dogg. Right? I always forget that she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Can you say I in the chat if you think that Sasha's actually leaving the company? Like, if you think once her contract's up, she's leaving, or once the situation cools down, she's leaving.
And just if you want to elaborate, because this part's interesting, I think most of us believe that this contract is her last anyway. What I'm really intrigued at is if you guys think she's wrestled her last match there, because that would indicate this never gets rebuilt, even like temporarily. Yeah, it's interesting. Chat seems to be kind of leaning towards that.
Oh shit! Oh my god! Well, I did not think that many people were gonna say yes.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh my god!
I think that it's been clear in interviews and stuff that like that Sasha's done, like, soon enough she's gonna be done being a full-time wrestler because she's got better things to do.
Do we know anything about what her contract looks like?
I believe she signed when she came back, so that was probably a 5-year. But if it was 3, she'd have very little time. If it was 5, she has 2 years left. Just to be totally, I think it's clear she's not going to be around full-time much longer, but I will say that I would be surprised if she doesn't wrestle in WWE again. I think Sasha loves wrestling, and I think there will always be kind of big show paydays there for her if she wants them. I just don't think she necessarily wants to be wrestling, on the weekends and wherever, because I think she wants to focus on other things. But that's just my read on it. I don't know anything, guys. I'm just guessing, but I don't know. It's quite the situation. I don't know, how this is going to unfold. Obviously, it all happened very quickly yesterday. Jaychele, is there anything else you would like to touch on in terms of this subject?
I think we should just focus on sending positivity to the woman at this point. I feel like I've addressed on my Twitter personally like enough of the hate and everything like that, where I'm just focused on sending love to those women because I know that they're probably going through a lot right now. Maybe they're even like second guessing what they did, or I don't know. But regardless, I have so much respect for them, especially like to do that and to not even have a union backing you up takes a lot of guts.
Yep, it's some big star shit, to be quite frank, and I think we need more of that in pro wrestling.
Period. Love it for them.
Know your worth, and if you truly have the not just the skill, but if you've got the resume to prove you're that level of star. Are you laughing at the Joker talk in the chat?
Yeah.
All caps. You're that level of star. You've proven it time and time again. There's no reason for you to just be following along. There's no reason. Brian, you may be late, but we're going to post this to the YouTube channel. We're going to do it as a premiere. We're going to call it the encore presentation of this show, which is not really the Burt. It's about
Did you see what
bigger
Mia
things.
Yim said, Joe? Did you see her
I did
tweet?
not.
She tweeted out Naomi and Sasha with correlating hearts.
I love Mia Yim. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Impact, baby.
Another wrestling talent that was, incredible treatment she got. By the way, that was something, wasn't it? That didn't even get talked about enough, honestly. Mia spent a whole year without wrestling, just like. Anyway, and I know the key stuff. Okay.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get that.
Joe, let me have the moment.
I know. I just the one thing is, I'm glad we didn't do too much in it, and I'll just touch on it here. Like,
Swerve tweeted, "Love Swerve."
To me, this is about more than like just maybe she goes for AEW. Like, not only do I'm not sure that will happen, but like it also doesn't feel like the story. Like it's
also if she did, Tony Khan, you're gonna need to hire somebody. You need to get on your shit and figure out how you can make Sasha your next star. Fucking CM Punk, that treatment right there. Even past that, give me that, dude.
While we're on this topic, I am intrigued by like, what if she was the first one that like broke their contract system? Like they worked a per date thing with her. Like she just worked the pay-per-views. Could you imagine how fucking awesome that would be for the industry?
That. She should.
I mean, you'd do the deal, wouldn't you? If you were AEW, 100%.
And you have to spend less money on her too if you do that.
God, that'd be incredible. That would be an incredible night for the industry. Okay. Just to kind of put a bow on this, best we can. I think one thing that we've been consistent on with this platform.
Sorry, guys. My mother called me. This is a normal thing on the streams now.
You're good. It's very early. Just put a bow on this best we can. We talk about it a lot on here, and it's something I want to just reiterate before we go. If you like one particular promotion because their flavor of wrestling is more for you, maybe their style is for you, maybe the way they're presenting it, the way the exposure they have, whatever. There you go. Shout out to Swerve. Then you can join that company, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it is what it is. However, be very, very wary of where you stand in your wrestling fandom when something like this goes down. Your immediate response is, "I must protect the rich billionaire in Gorilla." I'm sorry, and listen, that does not just go for the one that you perceive to be evil in Stamford, Connecticut. That goes for all the companies. If your immediate response is, well, hang on, let's think about the feelings of the rich dude.
I pay for Twitter Blue.
I don't roll with that. So, okay. Jaychele, are you content to conclude our thoughts there, or would you like to add anything else?
I am done, but I would like to say,
okay,
watch Wrestling with Whiteness if you don't believe that this is a race issue. So many of the people in that documentary have similar experiences to this, and they talk about that. And they're honest about how this is a trend, regardless of the company. This is not just WWE being petty, and it's not just people defending WWE. This is more. It happens on the independents. It happens in AEW. It happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be mindful.
Absolutely. Folks, the usual content will be coming as you're used to it. And yeah, I'll post the Burt line thing that Bob does on Twitter. I feel like it would be kind of nuts to put that here after this conversation. So everyone support Jaychele. We appreciate anyone that joined on for this particular stream. Anyone
we'll probably talk more about it when we do retire the rankings too. We'll probably just circle back
across the board, because this
number one Sasha Banks. Spoiler alert.
There you go. This isn't something that's about just talking about when it's topical. I know it's important, right? I'm glad we got to do this. So thanks, folks.
No the comment, Joe.
Which one?
Ben Dixon.
Assume wrestling with whiteness is Jaychele talking about existing in the late night Grin universe. Yeah, well, it's time. Unfortunately, there are very, very few platforms that poor Jaychele can go on without seeing folks that are bearded and white. So,
And the ones that
unfortunately,
look like me don't want me either. Sorry.
well, that's a different topic for another day. Remember, this is not behind the paywall before about an hour. Okay, folks, we hope this has been useful, insightful, enjoyable, whatever those words fits best. And yes, speak to you all soon. No comedic outro today. We appreciate you.
Thank
Speak
you.
soon. Bye.